So the, like I said, I don't mind being the moderator, and I do expect everybody else to step up and run this committee. You guys are citizens, a citizen-based committee. We will, as town councilors, take everything that you want to the town council. I know there's still some debate about the best location for it, and so if we can clarify that tonight, I think that would be a good step. Then we're gonna take it to DPW and to the town council within the next month. We wanna set deadlines. I like to operate setting deadlines. I don't like to leave this open-ended stuff, because it's just gonna be more discussion, and I may be wrong about this, but I say it all the time to my friends and my wife: think long, think wrong. Let's just get it done. We can always make some corrections after it's in place. I had a meeting with Stephen Calla the other day, just me and him. It was good because he could explain some things a little bit better to me about his reservations about certain locations and his proponent about certain locations. But I think the most important thing as a group you need to do is to, like I said 2 weeks ago, establish some principled people. Doesn't mean it's forever. Someone can do it for 6 months, change it up. I know you guys, is everyone on the communication link with Wendy? Wendy, I know you're kind of like the primary information disseminator, and that's great, and you've been doing it for a long time, and you deserve recognition about that and credit for that.
Yeah.
Right, because you kept the ball rolling, and here we are. But we do need anybody who feels they got a little bit extra time or a desire to to take a role. I think it's really important that you guys decide that tonight. You can take a vote. You can just raise your hand and say, that first of all, we need to, I guess, establish. We kind of talked about it, I got some notes here from the last meeting, about certain positions that we thought should be set up.
Excuse me for a second.
Yeah.
How long have these meetings been going on
Well,
here in this particular precinct? Throughout the town, relative to a dog park?
as far as I know, they've been going on for like 5 years. But I don't know how often they all met. This isn't necessarily a town council meeting or DPW subcommittee meeting. This is a citizen group meeting. I don't even think, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't even think this is an official committee yet, right?
Correct, yes.
There's a process with the town charter where we establish committees. It's a little more formal. I don't really think it's necessary, but it may become necessary down the road as we take steps to get everything official. But
I understand different other locations that were selected, but were they turned down or voted down?
as far as I know, there was only one, and you guys, the veterans here, can step up. You guys had one picked out along the Winthrop Revere line, right?
That
On the
was
Salt
picked out
Marsh
by the
area.
council.
Is that the Salt Marsh location?
Right. And so it looked like it was moving ahead pretty good. Am I correct?
Yeah.
And then
bird
the Audubon
people.
people, the bird people said that the dogs would disrupt them, and this is wild birds. This isn't even a nesting area or anything, right?
Right, and dogs go there anyway, not supervised, without any perimeter keeping the dogs safe,
Well, it's pretty clear in today's climate that birds seem to be
Everywhere.
have a little bit more rights and priority than some of the other creatures of this planet. But with that said, we couldn't fight it, okay, or it didn't seem like it was worth the fight.
Mhm.
So the explanation that we can, if everybody votes together, and we should all discuss this, and if anybody isn't clear, like this gentleman, you want maybe need to get brought up to speed on some things. There's several options. The Corkum family has put together a handout that shows, was there 5 locations that you guys are down to?
It was like 12, but this has been a DPW subcommittee meeting. Okay,
In the
and that-
past.
And that's what, the first meeting you showed up at, in a newbie,
Right.
that's what it is. This
Right.
is the DPW subcommittee meeting to talk about the dog park.
Right. The dog
Now,
park,
you made it something better, now it's just the dog park, and I really appreciate that. It's more of an informal,
Right,
know.
informal, but it empowers you guys.
right,
I think that, listen, this is how it's supposed to work. This is democracy. The population comes up with an idea, we bring it to the government, rather than the government coming up with an idea and putting it on you. I like that idea better. We will support it as we discussed. But you're right. The first meeting was a DPW subcommittee meeting. So this is more people getting on the list, the mailing list? Does everybody know
it's
about
just
this?
people that are here today, but yeah,
Great.
hopefully everyone signed up.
Great. This is really important that you guys have a communication central point to share this information. So if you do miss a meeting, if you want to get caught up on some things and ask some questions, that would probably be the better place to go than to ask me. Like Kevin said, I'm a newbie on this, and I've kind of been aware of it ongoing in the past, but I really wasn't personally involved. So, yes.
Can I ask, who are you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Mike McDuffie.
Okay,
I'm from Precinct 1 Town Council,
okay,
okay? And recently elected. Nick LeConte,
okay.
Precinct 3
Thank you.
Town Councilor, recently elected as well.
All right, so you actually could do something.
Allegedly. But yeah, we certainly will try.
Like
We
they,
should-
like they can't just shove it down our throats, right?
Right,
Okay.
right, that's
Only
it.
one.
Now, when you say shove it down your throat, would you want to clarify that? What do you mean?
Yeah, like, just put something there without us. without
Right.
any consensus.
Me?
What's the process of getting something like this approved? I mean, if we, people here have concerns for and against, I'm sure.
Yes.
And you're going to town council to suggest it, and town council votes on it regardless of the community's, I mean, how does that work? Can you
So,
explain that to us?
yes, absolutely. Let's kind of set the stage of the process that we're kind of thinking of. So, originally, while it was the Department of Public Works Subcommittee, this is sort of just a regular community meeting, so it's sort of nothing formal, nothing established. What the idea is that eventually the Department of Public Works Subcommittee will make a recommendation to the town council on a specific location, and at the same time, we're hoping to help the dog park committee people get ready to be organized, have a communication structure ready, some financial organization set, because in the end, it's sort of unlikely that the town will be able to pay for the dog park in its entirety. So we're going to need the dog park committee as organized and ready as possible to take on perhaps even a majority of the work and the financial burden for it. Right now, because I kind of sense some people are interested in what the location ideas are, is what's sort of being discussed right now is either the site right behind the DPW building up by this new school. Well, I guess it's not the new school anymore, but up that area. And another idea that has surfaced is potentially somewhere on Lewis Lake back behind the sort of marshy golf course area. So those are our kind of ideas 1 and 2. Several other ideas have been kind of discussed and deliberated on over the time. But I would say that those are the 2 places that we are seriously considering at this time. And there are pros and cons to each of those places. The place up by the DPW building is a really nice location, and I think sort of would minimally impact any residents since there aren't really any residential areas up there. But we're also facing some significant permitting issues and probably some extra financial cost associated with setting up disability ramps to make sure it's handicap accessible, etc. Lewis Lake is a newer location that we're just starting to deliberate on. And I think we're still kind of figuring out if that's sort of a suitable area and neighborhood for it. And that's one of the things that we want to kind of check in with the dog park people who are here is exactly how, sort of what direction you're interested in taking it. Because as Mike was saying, this is going to primarily be your fight, your need to raise funds, your sort of desire to coordinate construction. It's not going to be significantly coordinated by the Winthrop town government. We're just here as the liaisons to the town council. So,
If I could interrupt 1 second, Nick, and that is that you guys made me aware, and you are aware of it also, that there is some money set aside with the town that you can that we can put forth in addition to whatever monies you have raised or future money that you can raise. But it's gonna be hard to, like anything in today's town government, it's gonna be hard to get additional funds out of a tight budget that's already being debated. When we step in and in that environment, we are much more likely to get a positive response town-wide if we take that approach that we're gonna take this on, we as a group, and I'm part of the group. But we will take this next to the town council and see what kind of funding we can get to supplement what you guys generate. And also, of course, we have to get approval for any pieces of land that's town-owned. So that's a process that we would initiate with the town council and see if that can get approved. And thirdly, we need to be partners with the DPW. This is a subcommittee of the DPW, and it also has to do with the Parks and Rec. The Parks and Rec have a say in this as well, because it will become a park. So, there's already a structure in place to accommodate this. It's a great opportunity. I really think it's just a matter of making it as palatable and user-friendly to the non-members of this committee, because we're all in favor. There's no issue here. It's outside this room. We get to sell it. It's a sell. I'll do that. I'm comfortable with that. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but there is other money still set aside by the town that hasn't been used yet, unless it's been spent somewhere else, unbeknownst to us. And if that's the case, we will see what we can get for additional funding. But we definitely want to be partners with the DPW, and that's something I want to mention a little bit later with my conversation with Stephen.
Right. And the money that you were talking about, Councilor McDuffie, is fairly minimal. It's only what's left over from the study that was done on the first site. So I believe that amount is only $6,000-ish. So
Right.
nothing to kind of
Right.
get excited about. So with that, we're hoping to kind of do a two-pronged approach here, both help the dog park people get organized with sort of structure and kind of get feedback from them on which of those two locations are they interested in making the play on. The sort of potentially more expensive location by the DPW site that will involve more permits, or the Lewis Lake area where we'll be dealing with a little bit more residents who are living near there who may have some concerns there.
And just for others that haven't been here or unaware, there was other locations mentioned. Do we want to talk about any of those? Yes.
I'd like to mention them. If you look at a map of Winthrop, there isn't a lot of space,
Exactly.
obviously, and very few of them on the map are green, all right? You got the Point, you got the Highlands, you got Fort Banks, you got Ingleside Park, and Lewis Lake. So it's not like, we have much options,
Right.
okay? It's just a matter of minimal impact, but basic services we need, parking, water, just access, so that it can be a community-wide thing. People aren't, we want people to walk to the park. We don't want people driving to the park. If we can walk to the park, the dogs get a little exercise on the way, they go crazy on the way back.
Well, then
And
send
then-
that out.
And that's really what the whole process is. Sure, we got, we presented all the locations we have, like, there was about 12 of them, and Belle Isle Marsh ended up being the one that the town selected, the committee selected, this is the best one. There's no feedback, no one's pissed off that they're coming in our neighborhood, they're gonna ruin our streets, and, with a lousy looking dog park, it's just gonna be a lot of trash and noise, it's just ridiculous. This park is gonna be very well maintained, it's gonna be beautiful, it's gonna be an asset to the community, and there's gonna be a lot of people there having fun.
Enjoying it, yep.
So that's what we're just trying to find a location, because when we get a location, there's grants for a lot of the permitting issues and things like that. If the town just, says, okay, and we've had this meeting before, and that's how we ended up where we're at. So
Okay.
now it's just, where can we start?
So your experience and others here that went through that first process.
Question behind you.
Yes?
According to what I read, there are several locations that they proposed to put this dog park, not just the two you were talking about. And at the last meeting, there were, I believe, Mr. Lucido told me there were 46 proponents for the dog park present and none in opposition. Well, I would like to make you aware that there are more than proponents here tonight. There's a great deal of opposition to one of these particular areas that you have neglected to speak to, which I think the people from that neighborhood should have an opportunity to advise you on before it is being built in our neighborhood.
Please state your name, let us know.
Speak up, feel free.
My name is David Kennedy, I'm from 46 Brookfield Road.
We're not going there.
You,
For the floods.
I'm sorry, madam, I don't hear too good, what'd you say?
I said, that's not gonna be one of the spots.
Oh, well, I mean,
It floods there.
Well, let's let him.
am I allowed to
explain.
continue?
List.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that was listed in one of the proposals that I saw online between Wheelock, Brookfield, and Palmyra. And I think if you give these people in attendance an opportunity to speak to this issue, then you will get a lot of response that you may not have expected.
Very fair, and at this time, that location is not on the table.
Will it ever be on the table?
That's officially
Uh,
off.
Will it ever?
I'm only one of 9 people on the council. I can't say for certain, and it's not where we're going at this time. It's not a bait and switch.
At this
Nick.
time,
Like you said, it floods.
If I may,
Mark, what do you think?
a couple things real quick. Let's just cut to the chase. Who here is for attending for that reason? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, excellent. We got a big number here. Why do you not want it there? One at a time. You.
I can give you.
Just one at a time. One. Tell me one.
Well, one reason is that park directly drains in the ocean, therefore
Excellent.
you have to have some type of water clarity management system.
Not a problem.
To not drain out dog feces and urine
Oh.
out into the park.
Okay.
And I don't know if the town is gonna be responsible for taking care of maintenance and feces cleanup and the maintenance of that park, but you would have to have some type of water treatment facility in order to put that air in there with your environmental permit.
Good point. Sir?
Increase in traffic,
Okay. You don't want more people in the area?
absolutely.
Okay. What's your,
It's a very small area.
Okay,
I mean,
that-
and
that's a
there's not a
concern.
lot of parking as there is. He said he wanted to be able to walk to
it's
it.
kind of a park area as it is though, right? As it stands right now?
It's very small.
But not many people go through it?
No.
Okay.
Oh, a lot of people
What are your
walk their
thoughts?
dogs there
I
now.
don't want a dog park in front of my house.
Okay, so
It
not in my
sounds like
backyard.
It's not an
Okay,
option
you just don't want them
anymore.
there.
Have a dog park, but it's not-
What do you think?
Property values go boop.
You think?
No, they.
Oh, yeah.
All right, no, no, it's fair. Let's get it out on the table. That's why I want to hear
To
it.
that point,
Yeah.
have there been real estate studies, noise pollution studies? Have there been eye pollution studies with the fences? I think I heard a double fence. It's gonna look kind of like a prison for dogs, right? So
Have
people-
you ever been to a dog park?
I don't own a dog.
No, no.
Because I'm not, I wouldn't be
All I want to say to
responsible for
everybody
dogs.
who's against it is they should go to a couple of dog parks. Just watch them for a while. You don't have the noise, you don't have the mess, and they're usually very well kept.
No, I'm not trying to say a dog park's a bad idea.
Right.
I just don't
You
want
just said it was a jail for dogs in front, and you don't want it in your house.
I
in front of your house.
said a double
Very
wall
nice.
fence reminds me of that.
It's not a double wall.
It's not a
I thought that's what was.
There's a
was
double
said.
gated
Double-
entrance.
Okay.
And a single one. It's right,
Okay,
go to the
Let's
dog
Let's not
park
get, let's not
and
get
learn.
contentious
Yeah.
on this. Let's not get this kind of, you
Okay.
you
I'm not
made your
trying to
point.
cause stir. I'm
You're
just
not.
saying to me
You're not.
that's a
I think
nice
it's good
one.
that
That's
you're
all I'm
saying it.
But
trying
you
to
haven't
say.
looked at one, you don't know what
It's-
you're talking about.
I've seen them in East Boston.
It's okay.
Wrong spot.
But again, I'm not trying to ruffle feathers. There's
That's all I
no-
used to go there.
Why are you worried about dog shit?
Okay.
We don't want it to be contentious, but we want to hear what other people say.
Who
I
are
was
you to
thinking
be
this.
questioning us, by
I'm
the
not-
way?
You know what? That's an excellent question.
Yeah.
I'm not questioning you. I'm actually encouraging to get everybody's opinions out here.
Can you give us your identity, please?
Sure. My name is Mark Aubuchon. How are you? I'm 15 Payne Street.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm a guy who kind of got involved with this because I do think it's going to be something good for the town. I do have a dog. I'll never use it. I'll tell you that straight up. It's just not something I'm going to use with my dog, but I think it is going to enhance the value of the town. It's something that's going to be drawing people to the town. Literally every community around us has one. We don't. Some have several. But I understand what you're saying. What I would ask you this is if it wasn't in that area, are you against having one in the town?
Not at all.
Okay, that's what, how about yourself?
I think that Steve Calla,
Don't think for Steve Calla, are you okay with having one in the town if it's not in your backyard?
behind the DPW, yes.
Excellent, that's what I want to hear. That's it.
This gentleman here said
Okay.
there's not a lot of green spaces in the town.
That's right.
I mean, that's one of the very few little green spaces.
And there's
In the
hardly any,
town.
there's really sort of no
And it's
obstruction
very
by residents.
small. You know, I mean.
Literally,
it's not
that's
a
why that
lot-
one spot was picked.
Huh?
Because that one spot behind the DPW affects no one.
Right.
It literally affects no one. It's an unused area. It's a capped off landfill from, I don't know how long ago.
I have nothing
Um,
against the dog park.
Oh, no,
in
and
town.
I don't think anybody here does, but I just want to get that out in the open, that we're all kind of on the same page, because it was really considerable that we tried to find a place that didn't impact people. It was one of the big things that was considered,
That's all.
you know,
You
and
know we're here for.
I don't even think that space, for the very reasons you said, it's not an appropriate
It would
place.
be too tough to.
No,
to
I don't-
have
I
a water
agree with
treatment
you.
Facility there. It
Completely.
wouldn't happen. You would
And
have to
if they ever get around to doing something with that middle school, they're probably gonna take away a lot of that area
Want
anyway.
a new spot, how about right behind the ice rink?
That's, actually, that was kicked, that was put on and taken off, but I agree with you.
That's just another idea.
No,
Because
it's-
space
we
would
talked about that one.
be like a big lawn.
They only won't allow it. We tried. Oh, no, I'm with you there too. Anyways, I just wanted to kind of bring that
point,
to
Mark.
here.
I agree.
And, because I had a feeling we had some people that were in opposition.
No, it's good, but
I agree.
Are there any other groups in here that are against any other geographical locations, or is it just this Wheelock Street?
That's all we care about.
Well, that's great. I
I mean,
appreciate
I
it.
don't think it should be in front of anybody's house.
And that's why we want to keep it as far away from someone else's
I'm
home.
not saying give it to, you know, somebody up the highway.
I think we're on the same page,
Give it to
guys.
anybody up the highway.
We're looking for support from you guys, to
Yeah.
help us find a spot, you know?
It's not gonna impact
Right,
anyone.
right.
If you guys show up at the meeting and say, we want it in Fort Banks, then that's where it's gonna be, you know? If
Yes.
you don't show up at the meeting, then who knows where they're gonna put it? So
The two things about that area,
we're trying to find a place.
the two things about that area that were called in contention are the permitting, because it still has some of the permitting issues of being involved in a water area, and the ADA compliance concerns, because it's gonna be very costly. So-
Mark, I think that's a really key point that we should kind of hear again, if you don't mind.
No,
Okay,
well,
listen
okay,
up.
so Steve isn't here, but Steve, actually, one of the things Steve Callis said, and I talked to him on the side, he said, look, he goes, you got permitting issues there in that particular spot by the
The
DPW.
DPW spot.
He said, and you also have ADA compliance issues because you have to have, you know, a ramp at a certain grade going in there, and it's gonna be costly, and, you know, he talked about the construction side, he goes, I won't support it, was his exact word. He goes, that's the particular spot, he goes, I will not support. And I said, okay, you know, appreciate it.
Does he run the town?
see.
No, but he's,
He won't support it, he works for us!
understand, sir, I understand what you're saying, and if it becomes the spot, it becomes the spot, but he's one of the two people on the committee.
Director of DPW.
So we
he's like
gotta respect what
totally
he's
on
saying, because he's gonna be one of the people recommending it to the town.
He's a town employee.
But no matter where you go, you're still gonna have those,
Well, so,
no matter where you build.
I wanna ask this real quick, there was a spot that I heard come up and then kinda like, sort of get put to a side, and Steve actually said he supported this spot. Carving out a place of Hannaford Park. Okay? So what happened there? Because the reason why this was a place that he thought was really good, it has access to water that's easy, it's already ADA compliant as it is, there's already half of a fence there that he would be tying into, and it'd be off to the side away from where neighborhoods are, so it wouldn't be infecting anybody from a neighborhood point of view. So,
I think I have a copy of all those locations. if
Okay.
anybody's interested.
but whatever happened with that one? Anybody have updates on that?
Well, Mark, it's my understanding that's one of the ones that's in play. That is
Okay,
one
cool.
of the options. You pretty much have narrowed it down to that location, the DPW location, and then the last meeting is when I brought up the idea of the Lewis Lake location. Now, the thing that we all need to do before the next meeting is we need to visit these locations and see them. And rather than looking at just, I know you have, Kevin, but not just looking at photographic images, but see what it's like, which I've done. And the Hannaford Park site, it's a beautiful location. It's just a beautiful spot. It's got a great view of the ocean. It's up on the hill. And like Steve has expressed his pros and cons of both locations. But he really hadn't looked too deeply into the Lewis Lake location. Now, Lewis Lake's one of the few parks in Winthrop that people really have not really used. There's that playground that's over there, which I think is underused. And there was talk at one time of putting the dog park on the Veterans Road side of Lewis Lake, adjacent to the auto body place and that little park. But it's kind of small, and a similar problem would exist, which is the contamination of Lewis Lake potentially. But you guys got to understand that I don't really know how much more, unless it was heavily concentrated and heavily used by dogs, what more these dogs would do than what Canadian geese aren't doing or any other wild animals. There's a certain amount of natural animal waste that's going into these waterways anyway. So that is a factor, that's a consideration, that's something that we should discuss. But all of these, like the water use, the fencing type, how we're gonna put the gravel, all these things are secondary. What's the goal? The goal now is to establish a group with some leadership so that any of these meetings, you can address these questions to the right people and you can say, who are you? And just like you correctly said, no one wants to do anything to anybody with this dog park. The point is to enhance the town. Now, the Lewis Lake location is huge. It's not used. Now, we're talking about the end of Lewis Lake.
River Road side?
Yes, down past, not, like opposite the golf course really, almost down to the cemetery. There's two entrances to it. There's a dead end off of Lewis, and there's a dead end off of Willow. That one of them is paved and one of them is not. I asked Steve Calla if that was the chosen location, could they extend that road and make more parking there? We're not looking to put a ton of parking, but a little bit additional parking so it would take the load off the local neighbors. There's about 6 or 7 houses that the back of their homes would look out onto this area. They have, however big the yards are, then their fence, and then the land begins. But we could put it even another 60 or 70 feet past that. So there would be a path that would connect the Willow Street entrance all the way back through to Lewis Lake. So just like you said, Kevin, you could park over on Veterans Road, walk your dog to the park on a leash, which we all do anyways, we walk our dogs on a leash, take it to the park, let them go, let them run, sit on a park bench, talk amongst yourself, and take your dog back. Or you could park right on River Road if you're in a hurry. But the purpose of the dog park is not to take a place for you to take the dog to take a leak or to poop. It's a societal kind of thing. It's a community.
Social.
If that existed down there, now that would open up that whole area of that park to other people who just might want to just take a walk down there, sit on a park bench. So it's underutilized right now. It's literally not utilized right now. I would like everyone in this room to at some point, Harvey, you know the area really well.
I know the area pretty well, yeah.
Take a walk down there and see how much room we have, because I looked at it on like a Google Earth, and you could put 150 foot by 60 foot fenced in area, which is gigantic. Now the dogs can run. Dogs want to run. They don't want to be cooped, like you said about a little prison. We don't want to put the dogs in prison. So consider that.
Does that flood, would that flood?
No, it really, well,
it doesn't? It could.
it's a flood zone. That's a great
Okay.
question. Steve asked that question too. It is a flood zone. I guess in heavy, when the
Yeah.
golf course floods,
Right.
yes, that probably
That
would flood.
flood.
What would that do, really,
Nothing.
in the grand scheme of things? It would kind of rinse it out a little
Yeah,
bit,
right.
actually.
Same thing as when it floods on the golf course, you don't golf.
You just,
Yeah,
yeah,
take
just
it
let it
past
dry
the
out for a
day.
couple of days. So, anyway, it's a consideration. The Hannaford Park one is, the advantage to that is it's set aside, it's quiet, but that is a park that is utilized. I still see people walking their dogs up there on a leash. So it's not like that's unused by dog owners, but a dog park that I envision, and Harvey has a better idea than I do, having visited other places and out of town, and that's something that you as a group could have a kind of a mini subcommittee of this committee, which would be, let's get information, so when we sell this to the town, we can say, look, this is what Beverly has, this is what Salem has, this is what so-and-so has, and use the best ideas of each one of those. But I encourage you to take a look at that, because those people along River Road need to be informed and discuss with them, and let them know that we're considering that, and maybe they will be against it as aggressively as some of the people in this room are against the Wheelock location. But I think it would be the less impactful of the choices that we now have. So I'd like you to consider that between now and the next meeting, okay?
Sounds more financially.
Well, that's another thing. The permitting won't be a big deal, and I asked Stevie about, okay, let's talk about the water for a minute. He says, well, there's no water down there, we would have to, that would be a big construction effort to get water to the, I said, Steve, let's not let the water be the deal breaker here. We'll bring our own water for the dogs for now. Like my wife said, what about the parks with the kids? Do they have water? No, well, so do the dogs have more priority over our children? Maybe not. So for now, we could at least get it built. And maybe in 2 or 3 years, we raise some more money, we can get water sent out to it, wherever it is.
Right.
But for now, the more important thing is get a group with a little organization and heads. Then we'll subdivide it so somebody can look into the construction side of it. There's certain people here that have construction backgrounds. We can get pricing on fencing. We can decide how that's going to go. Getting a truckload of gravel in, so a certain part of it will be gravel. Have a couple little fake fire hydrants for the dogs. The ideas are unlimited. You guys have 100 more ideas than I have. But for now, those are the 2 steps that Nick and I would like to see you guys get going after tonight. And so you can do it online, you can vote online, you can volunteer online. I'm not trying to turn it into anything more complicated than it has to be. Do a 6-month position. Okay, I'll be president for 6 months. What's my role? Well, this is what we need you to do. Okay, I'll be the fundraising department with 2 other people. What's my role? It's up to you guys to do that, okay? It's pretty simple. And then we also talked about, one of my co-councilors suggested, well, maybe we should raise the fees for licensing the dogs and use that money towards the park. The problem I've learned from that is anything that goes into the town budget swirls down the town budget toilet. You won't be able to extract that money and earmark that money for this purpose. A way around that might be to make this a nonprofit 501(c) or 13C, however that term is, and then have donations at the time of registration and licensing.
I did a lot of work on that since the last meeting.
You did, great.
And one of the key things that I think that came out of it is like you're saying, maybe we have like a membership fee. If the members of this Friends of the Winthrop Dog Park Committee that want to help us achieve our goal of building a dog park, wherever it is. We don't really care where it is. I mean, they were sticking us in the marsh. I mean, we're happy wherever they want us. The dogs run around, they don't care.
Right.
Okay? We don't care. We want our dogs to exercise, We need exercise too, so if we see the dogs exercising, maybe we'll exercise. But that was one of the things on the 501(c)(3). And it allows for more opportunity to get people that like dogs, like people like birds, people like dogs.
Right.
Maybe we get some of these people to donate, instead of donating to the birds, they'll donate to the dogs.
Well, Kev, if you go to sign up your dog now, it's $5. And if you had a little sign there and somebody volunteered to sit there that day and say, would you donate $25 to the dog park fund? I would personally be more likely to give to that than to the town budget at this stage of the game. So I think that, and then a couple of fundraisers here or there. I don't know. You guys probably have better suggestions than I do. I'm just saying there could be a mini subcommittee within your group that said, okay, we're gonna have twice a year. We'll maybe have a table set up down French Square, or maybe the 4th of July Harbor Parade, wherever. Just so, because I know you're exactly right. You don't have to own a dog to support this idea.
Right.
And there's a lot of people out there that would do that. So this is where you guys got to do it. You got to step up and make the group. Yeah.
Recently, where we don't have one in here, and I know Wendy could see the pictures. I took like 8 pictures of 2 different dog parks right in South Boston. One is called a public dog park, and the other is a private dog park, but is public. because Massport runs it. Massport maintains it,
How about that?
right. And,
We like Massport.
I know, and I'm sure that Massport likes us being so
Yes.
close, and we could hit up on Bob DeLeo to see
Yeah,
if he could help
yeah,
us out with
yeah.
that part too. But, they had all these things, and I took pictures to show her, rules and regulations, what they
Yeah.
set. There were people there. If I tell you, if I ever saw cleaner dog parks, it was there. I took pictures, someone had put all the balls together for the dogs to come and play. There wasn't any dog, stool, feces, nothing. Everyone cleans up after their dogs, because you gotta remember, we're not bringing our dogs here and leaving them and saying, I'll be back
Right,
in a couple of
right,
hours.
right.
Everyone's there, everyone knows if your dog goes, you better be there to clean it up. Everyone brings bags. But they also had on the public one, in talking to the people on how they run it and everything, they just had a bark day. And it said sponsors, and sponsors were coffee shops, Hannaford's, all these different places there that gave to the public one to help them maintain it.
I walk to Boston Common every day, and they have places where dogs can run. And they also put, like green containers that you can pull,
Yeah,
pull,
yeah,
dog, you
yeah.
know, dog bags. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, they.
Yeah,
that's
I
something-
talked to Stevie Keller about that as well, and to say that, you know, rather than the dog feces in the bags ending up in just regular trash, it could be one allocated for that purpose, and then once a week take it to Deer Island where it's really should go, is to process through
Yeah.
as waste,
Yeah.
rather than going into just regular trash cans. But
Now,
one more
wh-
thing,
oh,
Ellen,
yeah.
is that I also asked him about the dog officer. Now, we have a dog officer in the town, and we're not looking to add to his difficult week, but maybe he could spend 2 hours a week on a Friday afternoon to just check on it, make sure everything is going right, the fence is okay, nobody's getting out of line. I don't know, you know, I'm not saying to be a policeman as much as to just be a monitor of it. And so then, if something's going wrong or something's askew, we would at least have a check and balance system that wasn't just on the volunteers. I know we can get the funding to build it, and I know we can get the location and the approval.
It's simple.
It's the maintenance, it's the future going forward.
Okay.
That's what everyone worries about. Is that gonna become a burden to the town, either financially or
Well,
time-wise?
we spoke to that, because that was one of the things that Steve brought up, his biggest concern was the
That's right.
maintaining of it.
That's right.
And the discussion was to put essentially a cement skirt around where the fencing is,
Mhm.
so
So
that
you
there
don't have to
wouldn't, the
weed
people
whack.
wouldn't go in and weed whack or anything else, we'd have to
Right.
deal with it, just keep mowing like they're gonna mow,
Right.
and it's done. The other thing is, it's not their responsibility to go and clean up the dog park. It's the people that utilize the dog
Correct.
park. But to that end, I just wanna sort of clarify that, I guess, a lot of people have a perception that it's a free-for-all. The people that use the dog park are actually the most responsible dog owners you're gonna find.
Exactly.
They do clean up after it, they do keep things in check. You know, they're not there to tax the system, if you will. I mean, they're using a resource for a reason because they want to do the right thing. And part of that is having an enclosed area to let their dog off leash in a responsible way. So that's why I say it's actually going to be a good thing, because you're going to get people that are good dog owners to come here and live in town.
Right, and spread the word.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's not a noisy thing, it's usually a very, very good, positive thing. Would all of you all here that don't want it down there support it somewhere else?
Yes.
I mean, you would come forward and say, yeah, I want it there.
Okay.
I wanted to hear a big yes.
That's what we need you guys to help.
Because it already got voted in, I just want to make sure everybody understands that. It was already like approved, so it's not like coming up for a revote. Go ahead, sir.
But, and referring to the name he uses, if Stevie Keller doesn't want to be head of DPW where nobody leaves, and nobody lives, and nobody goes, then why does Stevie Keller get what he wants?
It wasn't that, I want to say that, sir. Just to clarify, he's one of the two people that is on the committee. It's Ms. McDuffie and Steve. And so they're the people that are bringing it to. I mean, Nick was nice enough to come, but the point he was making is it's the most costly place to put it. It's also going to involve a lot of permitting, and he doesn't feel that because of that reason it's the best place for it. He was in favor of Hannaford because it's the least costly, and it also doesn't impact people. So, I mean, just to give you a sense of the dynamic between the two. That's
Can I
all.
ask you something?
Yeah, please.
Why does, so he's the one saying it's the most costly, right?
Because of
Just
what's
him?
involved.
No, I'm just
Yes,
asking.
ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Just him. He's the only one saying that.
Because he would be involved with the building of the
Well,
ramp and
he-
everything else. It's
He's
a
the
fairly
most
high
knowledgeable.
berm.
Right.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
the most knowledgeable person in the town to know.
So you got the
Yes?
compost stuff there.
What's he got?
He's there every day.
No,
So there's no
my husband goes down to the,
I'm just explaining,
my
I mean,
husband goes
that's
down to
why.
the DPW
Do they have
all the time. He brings-
permitting with the compost dump that's right
Actually,
there?
I asked him that, it's
Why
great,
are they
no.
gonna have a permit
It's a
with
good
dog
question,
dump?
because I asked him that, and he actually was
Sounds like
told
it's pretty
me,
much made up.
he said that he's actually had
Yeah.
people come in and
Well,
give
I'll tell you
him
what,
a problem about that.
Tell the town, no one's informed.
okay, I'll tell you what we'll do, is, I will get the cold hard facts on those
Yeah.
numbers from Steve on both locations.
It's like it's not even a democracy anymore.
No, I
He's got the
understand.
equipment too, he can flatten it out.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay, well then what we'll do is, my
Is it
My
just the
goal
fact that he
before the
doesn't
next
wanna
meeting
do it?
is, I'm gonna get the cold hard facts on the DPW location. And I'm gonna ask someone else, maybe you, Mark, to work and ask Steve about the Lewis Lake location and the pros and
I'll
cons and
see what I
costs
can do,
associated
sure,
with that,
I have no
okay?
problem with that.
So that'll be mine, that'll be yours. And, so then when we come back to the next meeting, we'll explain exactly what that entails and why it is or it isn't. I'm with you guys. I don't believe any one person has any more authority or decision-making over this location or this whole process. But we don't want to alienate the DPW, because we're gonna need them at some point. So if we want to disagree with him and like we want to take him on, I'm not against that. If this is what the committee is, what this group wants to do, we certainly have the clout and the votes, and he, like you say, he's one guy, he's just one man. But his experience on, what they call that, it's an area of environmental concern. Because it is a formerly a waste site, it's covered over landfill, there can only be so much that can be scraped off before you get into issues with the environmental. Because it's so close to a school, that comes into play as well. So there's more to it than initially you might think. But we need to know those facts. We can't just talk in generalities. It's not fair, because you raise a great point, and you should need to know this.
I don't wanna alienate anybody.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't know why, it
Well, we're
sounds
gonna
like-
find out.
You know, it sounds like he's decided that he doesn't want it.
It seems that way, I agree with you,
You
it
know?
does seem that way, that he has an agenda in his mind made up, and he has his reasons that he justifies it, that may or may not be accurate.
And I know that he runs the DPW, that might
Right,
be
that's
why
what
he
his job
doesn't
is.
want to.
He's the director of the DPW.
Sorry.
Well,
He's gonna be
the,
retired.
another factor that was brought up in our last meeting when he spoke was the idea of funerals that have to go past there. The parking area adjacent to that location, those spots technically belong to the cemetery. They could technically put up a gate there. You know how the gate to the compost is further down? Technically, they could move that gate back. I think it was there at one time, and they eliminated it. And that would shoot our whole program down to some degree. We would have to park over by the soccer fields. And obviously, everybody knows what goes on at that location 2 times a day when the parents are dropping the kids off and picking them up. It's chaos. So if you did put the dog park there, we would all learn very quickly there's certain hours you don't bring the dog.
Right.
So that would cut into the availability and that would limit its use
Right, I
technically.
agree, I'm just,
So, but these are all things that have been discussed to some degree. But let's just bring it to a head. Let's cut to the chase. I'm on TV, I gotta. And let's come to a decision and move. Okay?
great.
Agreed? Yes.
First of all, the Wheelock Street location made the paper, and that's why a good portion of you guys are
good. I
here. And
didn't catch that.
so what's gonna happen now is the Lewis Lake location is gonna make
Right.
TV.
Good point.
So the next meeting, we ought to have a bigger place.
That's right.
But we want all you guys back.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy.
All right, we need you guys to support a dog park, okay? Even if it's not where you, if it gets built where you don't want it, I understand that, you know what I mean? But if we can get it built where we all want it, as a team, okay? And we want it with the least impact possible.
Exactly.
That's what we're trying to get.
Wouldn't it be
And that's
great
why
if-
we're at where we're at.
Wouldn't it be great if it even enhanced the location rather than detracted? You were talking about property values and things like that. Yeah, we wanna come, anybody here in construction? Anybody ever had their kitchen done or their bathroom done? Okay. In construction, everything is a compromise. We have to be willing to compromise. We may not get exactly what we want at this location, but we gotta compromise. We have the pile of money and we have the goal. And somewhere in between, we're gonna find a compromise that probably isn't acceptable to anybody, but collectively, it's acceptable to the group. So this is how you have to kind of think. We gotta be a little bit open-minded. Let's not let anything be the deal breaker. If the cost is higher than we anticipated, well, then we're just gonna raise more money. Okay? If if we need to sell to the neighbors, I'll knock on the doors. I'll introduce myself. It's my precinct, as it turns out, at Lewis Lake. And I probably already met some of the people. I think it'll be minimal impact. I can't see it being any more impact than the golfers across the lake. You know, so, but let's all take a look at it, okay? Fair enough? So,
Maybe you could have two parks.
we could have two, that's the other
Why
thing.
just have one?
What's your first name again?
Bob.
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 I know you, Bob, from,
The Elks.
Lewis Lake, you do one like behind.
yeah, we
ice
could have
rink.
more than one.
You got water from the ice rink too. if they
Okay,
wanna
great
come
point.
water
I
in.
talked to,
Water supply right there.
I'm glad you brought that up, Bob, because the other thing that.
Plus they could tag off the building with shade too.
We talked about that too, and maybe collecting rainwater and, you know, being ecologically friendly.
No
and-
ADA stuff either.
Exactly, there's no ADA issue. We might even be able to dig a well and pump the water out of Lewis Lake is brackish, especially down the end, it's closer to fresh water than it is to ocean water. So you really couldn't feed the dogs that water, but you could hose down the rocky area where the pee is. You know, you could, you know, clean it if nature doesn't give us any rainstorms for a couple of weeks, we could pump water out of the lake, and it wouldn't be an environmental issue, as far as I know. I'm sure there's somebody that's gonna find some stipulation somewhere,
And you
but
got a lot of
I think it's
property,
pretty user-friendly. So, and we can maintain it ourselves. We could, again, have a volunteer committee that every 3 weeks go down and hose down the area with just fresh water. So there's really a lot of opportunities at both the locations. I think the Hannaford Park one, my opinion, for what it's worth, I'm only one of the whole group. I think that the area he's talking about is a nice grassy area up at the top of the hill with a beautiful view. People go up there and do weddings occasionally. You walk your dog up there, you know the area.
I walk there, and they also have yoga classes 2 mornings a week during the warmer weather in May through September. Yeah, they have, you know, so it's just.
We don't need grass
It's kind of
though.
like.
No, we
All
don't
the
need
dog-
grass.
but Yeah, because all the dogs.
No, I'd rather be up there picnicking than bringing my dog. So, so there really isn't a ton of construction costs, I don't think, or logistics to building the park in the Lewis Lake location. I think it's minimal, but take a look at it, see what you think, and we'll go from there. Anybody want to make any other comments? I don't want to.
I'd just like to add one thing, to everyone, like, log on and go to the dog park and put your name in, we need your help.
Right. Is that a Facebook site or
It is Facebook, yeah,
Website.
Winthrop Dog Park.
It's a Facebook site?
It's on
okay?
Facebook, yeah.
Okay.
But we don't know computers all that
Dog
great.
Park Project.
Winthrop Dog Park Project, okay?
I would suggest you contact Mary Kelly before you expend any more energy going down to Lewis Lake.
That's a great idea.
I expect that you're gonna find out it's part of historic field tidelands, and you're gonna need a chapter 91 waterways permit to do it.
We certainly will look into that. That's a great idea. Is it Mary or is it Kara? Campbell?
Mary Kelly.
I thought
It's Mary.
Conservation.
she's still there.
It's good to know ahead of time, you know?
Yeah, yeah. We want to trip all the landmines before
Yeah, sure.
we go.
At least behind the rink, it doesn't flood right there.
But
usually.
that's a
might be-
baseball field, Bob.
Yeah, it is, that's, yeah.
So,
That might be an easier property too.
Yeah, people let their dogs run.
They're all running there.
no neighborhood right behind the ice rink.
In the morning, people let their dogs run around there, but a policeman
So,
jumped out of his car and ran over and took pictures of all the dogs and said,
Mark, you
next
wanna
time
talk
he
to Mary
sees them,
Kelly
he was gonna give
I
him.
don't even know who she is. You have to introduce me.
for the Lewis Lake location?
Really?
But that would probably apply to Hanford Park as well, that's a oceanfront area.
No, it's above, it's not historic field
Can't
timelines.
find him where you want us.
However,
But I guess he moved.
you also may want to talk to Mary Kelly about the restrictions concerning ACEC, because when that license was written for the community of Winthrop, there were many stipulations put through which she can tell you about. And I think that you may find that the restrictions talked about by Stevie are not necessarily going to be applicable to your dog park.
Great. What's your first name again?
David Kennedy.
David.
I used to work for DEP, I wrote the licenses for this town.
You want to be on the
Concerning
committee?
the AC.
You want a job?
Well, David, that's exactly what he said to me, was the ACEC came into
Area
play.
of critical environmental concern.
Exactly. And that was his reference to the DPW location, why it would be difficult to get approval.
Talk to Mary.
Talk to Mary?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now see that? There's a guy with a fountain of information.
That's right.
And I'm sure there's other people in there that can also offer ideas and things like that. Because, listen, I think I said at the last meeting, and that's how I feel. I'm not a know-it-all, but I'm a do-it-all. You guys give me the information, I'll get it done. But no, I don't have all the answers. So this is why a group like this is great, is valuable. Who else wants to comment? Anything?
So what your agenda is in a month to recommend a site, is that what you started?
Yeah, I think we, does everybody feel like, well, if we get this information and we come to the next meeting, we get the dollar values to the 2 or 3 locations, the pros and cons, the approvals environmentally, and anything else that anyone else can think of, log into the site and share it. And Wendy, you keep me informed on everything, because I'm terrible at monitoring emails and social sites and stuff.
If that's in 2 weeks, where we can have another community meeting to come back
Should we do 2 weeks?
and discuss
Can
what
I get this done in
information
2
has been
weeks? Can we get-
assembled.
Mark,
But to your point, I think when we ultimately decide the site, that will need to be the Department of Public Works subcommittee.
Absolutely.
So you'll maybe call those two guys together
I will. I'll call
2
a
weeks
meeting for
after
that.
that, so a month
Yes,
from then.
yes.
And then that will make the
Yeah, let's
recommendation
do
to
that.
the full
Great
town
point, Nick.
council.
Let's set some deadlines, okay? So 2 weeks from now, let's try to see if we can have enough information to make a decision as a group and kind of vote on it.
Not necessarily, hopefully a bigger room if we can get one.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that
Check
too.
the town website calendar.
There's a town site too.
Yeah, there's a town site that shows meetings. I guess, I tried for the Lyceum room for this date, and you mentioned how crowded it is. Somebody else is using that tonight. I guess there's like 3 or 4 meetings tonight.
We went in the wrong one.
Yeah, we just picked a bad night, but it may not be that way, and if we get there early enough, you guys know the Lyceum room in the E.B. Newton? It's that big kind of, well, it's a big hall.
Classroom?
Yeah, classroom kind of thing. It's about twice as big as this
I was
room.
just there Monday.
Is that where we go?
Yeah.
Well, we'll try
That's
for
one
it.
possible spot. We'll
Just keep your
check
eyes
the
open.
town calendar, it'll
I
be
know.
posted there hopefully as soon as possible.
First floor in the middle.
Right, because this is a small room. The first meeting 2 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, we had it at the DPW. That was even more crowded than this.
Wow, brutal.
Yeah, yeah. So I didn't anticipate quite so many people, but this is good. Okay, okay, so those are the deadlines, those are the time. Now, last meeting I said, I want to keep these meetings to an hour. Okay, our time is valuable. Nick and I go to a lot of meetings.
Thanks for
having the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it, guys. Really appreciate it. Dude.